If we rewind just 10 short years, I was a shy boy who felt creepy around women. I was jealous of men that were more successful than me. And if I'm being honest, I was afraid I was gonna die alone. Fast forward till today, and I am a man now. I've built several businesses that allow me to have complete financial freedom. I have my choice in women. I'm able to travel the world when I want to. And the one thing that made this possible and allowed me to have this transformation, more important than anything else, was the actions that I consistently did on a daily basis. It was the habits. Now, about 8 months ago, I uploaded a video on the top self-improvement habits for men, ranking them from worst to best based on my experience over the last 10 years. And that video has blown up. It's on its way to 1 million views. And today, we are going to do the opposite. We're going to take a look at the dark side of habits, the bad habits. Some of these things I'm sure you've heard of, while others you definitely have not. And make sure you watch all the way into the end because we're going to be assigning each habits a ranking. And based on where you are right now on your journey, some of these habits you need to avoid at all costs or you will never get momentum and break through to that next level, while others, they might seem like bad habits on the surface, but for you, they might actually be healthy and you should actually do them. Are you ready? Let's get started. Number 1, the death scroll. Serious question for you. How many minutes per day do you think you spend looking at social media and scrolling through different photos and videos of attractive women, sports cars, motivational quotes, football highlights, whatever it might be? Well, the good news is we can actually check. So if you go into your phone settings, you can click screen time, you can click see all apps, then click Instagram, and I can see my daily average is 36 minutes. Now, 36 minutes times 365 days a year is 13,000 minutes. If we divide that by 60, 219 hours per year I'm spending on Instagram. Fuck, bro. And the scary thing is I'm willing to bet that many of you are higher than 36 minutes per day. So here's the question. How is this impacting your life? Is it positive? Maybe it's giving you motivation and advice. Or is it negative? Are you just looking at half-naked women and maybe when you're anxious and you feel alone, you just start scrolling mindlessly? If you think it's having a positive impact on your life, you're bullshitting yourself. We all know that's not true. So here's the rule I made for myself. If I'm doing something intentional, like watching a YouTube video to level up my life, or I'm going on Instagram to post a story to promote one of my businesses, okay, cool. But otherwise, this is a category 3 life-destroying habits. It can't happen. Number 2, fast food. So my go-to McDonald's order is a McDouble, a 6-piece nuggets, some fries, and an Oreo McFlurry. And that's just delicious. Now, of course, if I have the option between having a nice, healthy, home-cooked meal or eating out at a high-end restaurant or McDonald's, I'm not gonna choose McDonald's. But especially if you're a naturally skinny guy like me and your option is either to get fast food or to not eat anything because you don't have time, or to go to the convenience store and get one of those shitty protein bars with a bunch of sugar alcohols and BS in it, I'm gonna take McDonald's. So at least I'm getting some calories and some protein in. Now, of course, that's gonna be 1 time per week max, but in this context, it's a category 2 bad habits. In moderation, it's okay. However, if you're a naturally bigger guy and you're trying to cut weights, this should be a category 3 for you. Stay the fuck away. Number 3, OnlyFans. Now, I really didn't even want to include this in this video because it should be so blatantly obvious, but the shocking statistic is that over 500,000 men sign up for OnlyFans every single day. It's honestly pathetic. If you're signing up for OnlyFans, you're essentially paying a woman to give you a false sense of companionship. And it's not even the woman answering the messages. Almost all of them have management services where it's some man answering the messages pretending she's the girl. This is literally at the top of the simp pyramid. There's no behavior that is more simpy than this. Category 3, life destroying. There's no excuse. I don't want to see any excuses in the comments. Even if you've given up on your dating life, take that time, take that money, and put it into building up some other area of your life. Number 4, I think I got it right here. Video games. So a little known fact about myself, one of my bigger accomplishments in the earlier stages of my life is that I was ranked in the top 100 players on SOCOM 2 US Navy SEALs on the PlayStation 2. Yeah, I was a fucking legend. Like, I used to play games 1 versus 8, where those guys would rank up because they were playing against a player that was such a high rank, and I would also rank up because I was playing against 8 dudes, and I'd still win, man. I'd prone over here, toss a grenade there, game over. And that's the funny thing, I genuinely enjoy playing video games, but if I'm being real with myself, I can't play just like 1 hour a week. If I'm gonna play Call of Duty, I'm gonna be on there every night so I can be leveling up and be the best guy on the map. Like, I only know one successful man, Max Tuning, my good friend, who's able to still play video games, but he has this weird ability where he'll wake up on a Saturday, play an hour and a half of Fortnite, then go to the gym and not touch the sticks until next week. With the limited leisure time I have, I'd rather spend it watching a movie with my girl, getting outside and playing sports, so I've had to retire the thumbs. Category 2, in moderation, it's okay. But if you're on the way up and you're grinding, you have to choose which leisure activity you're gonna hold on to. It can't be video games and Netflix and playing sports. Which one's gonna stay? Which one's gonna go? Number 5, biting and picking. So this funny thing happens to me where I'm trying to relax, I'm kicked back watching a movie, but then some thought comes into my head about something I gotta do. I gotta film this YouTube video tomorrow, I gotta make these big business decisions. I start feeling anxious, and then I start biting at my fingertips or, picking at my cuticles, little skin next to my fingers. And I know I ain't the only one doing this shit. And when you do this, what happens next? What happens next? I can tell you 100% of the time, it intensifies the anxiety. It allows it to go from this thing in my head to this thing that's now controlling my body. My heart rate picks up, my blood pressure increases. I start getting a little, sweaty palms going on. Like, as soon as you start picking or biting, you've just allowed your body to be consumed by this negative energy. Plus, your lips and your fingers start to look disgusting and gross, and people don't even want to get close to you after that. Definition of a lose-lose. Category 3, life-destroying. As soon as I notice I'm starting to do this, I'll put my hands down, spread my fingers away so they can't touch each other. Take a few deep breaths. Number 6, sedentary lifestyle. So sedentary basically means that you're not doing much physical activity on a daily basis. And we know from scientific clinical research that this leads to a lot of bad shit like obesity, because you're not burning calories, cardiovascular disease because you're not exercising your heart, your most important muscle, diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety, osteoporosis, you get less bone density, you can break a bone easier, back pain. Like, if you wanted to think about what's the one way I can just guarantee that I ruin my life physically and mentally, live a sedentary lifestyle. And the problem is that in 2024, most of us do our work on a computer. When we're on a computer, we're not really moving too much. So the fact is that if you're not doing a physically active job, like a construction worker, you need to insert daily physical activity. For me, I love lifting weights or playing sports like paddle or basketball. Whatever it is you prefer, do something. Category 3, life destroying. Now, real quick, something that every man should be doing is taking care of his skin, which is why I decided to partner with Tiege Hanley to be the sponsor of today's video. Now, in case you're not familiar, Tiege Hanley is basically the best skincare system for men because it's simple and it actually works. If you sign up, they're gonna send you a box just like this that contains a variety of different creams and lotions that have been formulated specifically to work together and give you clear, healthy skin, and that's gonna give you a big confidence boost. I'd recommend you get started with their level 1 system that has you covered with all of the basics, including a daily face wash, a morning moisturizer with sun protection, an evening moisturizer to use before bed, and a twice per week exfoliating scrub to keep your skin fresh. For most of my life, I didn't have a good skincare routine, but now that I'm in my 30s and I see a lot of men around me getting this gross, wrinkly skin, honestly, I wish I started sooner. And because Tiege Hanley is sponsoring today's video, you know that they're hooking it up. If you click that first link in the description, you're gonna get 30% off your first box of Tiege Hanley, and they're gonna throw in a free gift on top of that. Do not delay. Click that first link in the description and get started now. Number 7, booze. So I want to start this by saying that if you have alcoholism in your family or you personally struggle with alcohol, then obviously this is a category 3. It could ruin your life. Stay away at all costs. And even if not, we know that alcohol is a net negative thing. It can lead to car crashes. It can lead to getting in stupid fights with some other stupid drunk guy at the bar. It reduces your quality of sleep. That being said, for me, it's a category 2. Use in moderation. Because look, if I'm going out to a nice dinner, or I'm relaxing at the end of the day and I have a glass of wine or a cocktail or 2, definitely not more than 2. Well, in that context, it adds to my enjoyment and to my relaxation on that evening. It's not needed, but there can be a positive benefit to it if used correctly. And the same thing, if you're going on a date with a girl and you have 1 or 2 drinks with her, it's going to increase the ambiance and the vibe a little bit, and it could be helpful in that scenario. But 2 drinks is always my hard cutoff, because as soon as I drink more than that, I notice that my sleep quality goes down and I don't operate as well the next day. Number 8, I'm running out of fingers. The green stuff. So I haven't spoken about my experience with this much in the past, but when I was younger, going through college, even after college, I did use this more regularly, and at that point, it was a net negative. That's back when I was very anxious and shy around women. I didn't have much momentum in my personal growth, and when I would use this, it would just lead me to having these negative self-thoughts, questioning myself. It was clearly holding me back. And when I quit it, that is around the same time I really dove in balls to the wall in self-improvement, and that gave me more energy and motivation. It was allowing me to flex my self-control muscle. It was a crucial decision that really helped me get that initial momentum. That being said, I'm actually gonna place this in category 1. It can low-key be healthy if you're in the right situation. You see, if you can look back the last 2 years, let's say, and see consistent growth in multiple areas of your life, with your body, with your dating life, with your money, you are operating each day. You don't need to think about how to stay consistent and stay motivated. It's just fucking happening. This is where I've been living the last 5 to 7 years. And in this mode, I am such a well-oiled machine that is going to be aggressively taking action every day that it changes my relationship with the green stuff. Now, when I use this from time to time, this is something that Joe Rogan talks about a lot, it actually opens up a different perspective and allows me to see everything going on in my life from a fresh angle. And sometimes I have crazy revelations about the next step I need to take in a business. Sometimes it leads me to negatively questioning myself, but because I don't do that at all, it can actually be healthy. So yeah, category 1, but only for a select few, and even then, you might choose not to do it. Number 9, fapping. So it's important to separate 2 things here. 1 is watching pornography, 1 is the physical act of fapping. When it comes to the first one, we know that is a net negative. When you get into this creepy little part of your brain where you're kind of ashamed of what you're doing, well, we know that it kind of messes up your dopamine release. Then you start to use multiple tabs. Sometimes you increase to watching more intense content, let's call it. For me, it killed my motivation to actually go out and try and meet real women. It caused ED. You don't need me to tell you this. You probably already know that it can really fuck up your life. But when it comes to the other thing, the act of fapping, that's a different story. And there are 2 schools of thought here. One school is the retention crowd who thinks that you should just never engage in that, because when you retain your sperm, it leads to this crazy motivation and energy you can tap into. And if that's what you've experienced, awesome. Double down on that, keep doing that. Now, for me, first of all, I've never seen any actual research or clinical studies that supports the retention claims. But if I was in a situation where I didn't have a girl and I was not regularly active in the bedroom, here's what I would do. I would fap 1 time per week without the use of external stimulation. Because I don't know about you, but I've tried going weeks on end without touching anything, and it starts to drive me crazy. I have too much pent-up energy, and it leads to a lot of anxiety. It's almost just like a little release valve. Then you let that energy build back up that can help with some motivation, then release it before it turns into too much. So porn would be definitely category 3, but fapping in a controlled way, I would say category 1. Can be beneficial. Number 10, weak posture. So because we all work on laptops and computers now, I'll be sitting here editing and I'll be kind of leaning in trying to get this edit just right, and then all of a sudden my neck is cracked forward like this, my back and my shoulders are rolled forward like this. And that's why when you look at the average person's posture in 2024, they look weak, they look frail. And I can tell you from my years of being a personal trainer, especially when I trained older clientele, this destroys a lot of people's lives. They can't play with their kids because they have so much back pain because their spine is just so out of whack. So for sure, category 3, life destroying if you don't fight against it. And there's 2 ways that I fight against it. 1 is actively, we could call it. When I notice that I'm doing this, well, there's 2 things I tell myself. First, pull your shoulder blades back. Second, imagine there's someone with a string on the crown of your head pulling your head up. So then I'll go boom, boom, and get back to editing like this. And the second way is just to lift some fucking weights, because if you're doing back rows and rear delt raises and you're learning to squat and to do deadlifts with a correct and neutral spine, well, that is going to build up your spinal erectors and your posterior muscles so that you already have a first line of defense to keep your posture strong, even if sometimes you go into nerd mode. Number 11, officially out of fingers, social isolation. So for most of my life, I isolated, not really by choice. I just have this preference in my head. I'm more of an introvert. I like to be alone. But then that led me to not putting myself out there with women, not creating opportunities with women. So I was very lonely. And that led me to only choosing to hang out with, stoners, where all we were doing was playing video games together. That's obviously not a good path, not a good type of isolation. However, if you're an introvert like me, what I've learned is that you can funnel this in a very productive way, because us introverts who can isolate a lot, we're comfortable spending long periods of time alone, whereas someone who's extroverted, they need that constant social stimulation and external validation to keep going. We don't need that. And that's low-key a superpower, because now I can tap into just sitting alone, doing focused work for hours when needed. So for that reason, I'd make this category 1. It can actually be a healthy thing. You just need to make sure that you're controlling the isolation. You recognize, I'm afraid of talking to girls, so I'm gonna put myself out there and not isolate myself like that. But when it comes to getting work done, I'm not gonna have FOMO. I'm just going to grind, put my head down, and focus. Number 12, staying up late. So I used to trick myself and tell myself, it's okay to stay up late if I'm sleeping late, because then I'm still getting enough sleep. And some of us, we work better at night, right? We're just more night people. It's fucking bullshit, man. Our physiology just doesn't operate as cleanly at night. There's a reason why at night you're trying to make a decision, it feels all stressful and anxious, and the next morning you wake up, and it just solves itself on its own. Or even better, I wake up to take a piss in the middle of the night and the solution comes to me. When we stay up late at night, almost always, that is when we decide to take part in the other bad habits, like fapping or smoking or playing video games or watching a bunch of mindless content on social media. From my experience, this is an easy category 2. In moderation, the only time I'm gonna stay up late is if there's a specific deadline that I have to meet for a project. If there's no deadline, I'm gonna be in bed early. And the fact is that the more men that I meet on the way up who are crushing it in their dating life, with their money, with their social group, none of these guys are staying up super late, man. It's like the one thing that we all have in common. And number 13, the passive mindset. So there's basically 2 ways that you can view your life. One is with a passive mindset, one is with an active mindset. The passive mindset is how I used to think. Man, girls just don't like me, I'm fucked. I'm never gonna be the guy who makes a bunch of money. I wasn't born with those type of opportunities. Life's not fair. It's just not fucking worth even trying. The active mindset is, okay, the situation's not great. My body's not great. My dating life's not great. My money's not great. But what can I actively do to improve the situation? And this is a fundamental habit that happens inside of your mind every single day. And the wild thing is, if you scroll down below any YouTube video, you can quickly see the men with the passive mindset versus the active mindset. The passive mindset are the haters who are talking about
why it won't work for them, or why other guys are lucky, or why it's all bullshit.
The active mindset, these are the men who are looking at the content and identifying, okay, this is something I can implement in my life and I can actively push things forward with. Category 3, if you have the passive mindset and you're blaming other people for things in your life and you're not taking full responsibility for every situation in your life, no matter how much of your fault it is or it isn't, you have the passive mindset and you're fucked. Now, real quick, if you're a man who's on the way up, then it is critical that you watch this video next. It is about how to stop women from ruining your life. 5 rules that you must follow. If you don't know how to properly navigate your dating life, it can ruin your momentum everywhere. So click there to watch that now. If you're new to the channel, click down there to subscribe, as I release 2 new videos every single week and you don't want to miss them. I'll talk to you in the next video. Stay beastly.